How do you properly lay out a website? Let's have a conversation about that. How do you make sure your website is actually compatible with your audience, is driving traffic, but most importantly, is also pretty good in terms of SEO, in terms of what Google is expecting, okay? Or let's say the search engines in general. So here is a beginning chapter here. I want to first define for you what a website layout really is, because see, the whole thing is you can't really start designing your website thinking about the layout without properly understanding what the concepts are. So a website layout is nothing but the arrangement of all visual elements on a web page. So arrangement of all visual elements. So through the intentional positioning of page elements, you can really control the relationship between them to better guide the user experience. So if you are trying to have an impeccable UX for your website, you are going to really think about a website layout. So basically, when you think about website layout, this is a, let's say, a pivotal element when it comes to web design. Okay, so a layout determines the sequence in which page elements are registered among visitors, which elements draw the most attention, and most importantly, the visual overall balance of the site. So because of this visual significance, a website layout can enhance a website's message and usability. So that's kind of cool because you are trying to have a conversation with your visitors. You are trying to really make sure they have a great user experience, and they also have a great, when it comes to like the interface, the user interface should be really good also. Now, how do you actually choose the right website layout for your particular website? I mean, it depends on the niche. It depends on your target audience. It depends on what your rivals are doing, right? What are the best practices in your industry? One thing you want to make sure, you want to accommodate your content. You want to use a common layouts. Okay, so when I speak about using common layouts, you have to pay attention to proximity. You have to pay attention to similarity, continuity, right? You want to have some kind of continuous process here, closure, and also you want to have a figure ground related. In other words, make sure the main elements of the site layout stand out from the backgrounds, right? What has to be prominent has to be prominent. What has to be a secondary has to appear secondary. So if you are thinking about properly laying out a website this year, here are the top ideas that I want you to really pay attention to. Now, the first thing I want to share with you is the Z pattern layout. So I'm showing you on the screen here. This is how the Z pattern layout actually shows up. So when coming across a new web page, we immediately glance over to take in the gist of things, right? So now this speedy scan, called skim reading, is often done in the shape of the letter Z or in zigzag form. Okay, our eyes actually move from the top left corner to the top right corner, then down to the bottom left, and finally to the right again. So the whole thing here is that you have the Z pattern. Okay, so the Z pattern website layout utilizes this rating habit through asymmetry by actually spreading important information across a Z shape. So that's kind of cool. If you want your visitors to actually get the gist of things using your website, you are able to go through the Z pattern, and through the Z pattern, you are really directing users to find the most important CTA info on your site. Call to action. So Z pattern, number one. Number two, the F pattern layout. So the F pattern layout is kind of similar to the Z pattern, but the thing is that it's based actually on a common page scanning behavior. So with web pages, they are more text heavy. We tend to skim or read the info in an F shape. This means what? It means that what happens here is that when someone comes to your website, the top horizontal part of the page gets the bulk of their attention, and their eyes go vertically downwards from there, with the left hand side tending to serve as the focal point. So if you are trying to really get your visitors to really appreciate the content on your website, you want to really think about the F pattern. Okay, make sure to invest resources on the top fold of your page where visitors are likely to linger longer. Okay, this usually includes what? It includes a headline, subtitle, and feature image, content that can introduce the remainder of the site in a compelling manner. Okay. If you are thinking about properly laying out a website this year, I want you to think about the full screen image layout. This pattern is also really quintessential. Okay, and so with an extra large visual placed front and center, a full screen image layout can really result in an eye catching and immersive homepage design. That's pretty good if you are trying to draw attention to a specific point, a focal point. Okay. Now, large media features can convey a lot about who you are and what you do in as much as a glimpse, really. The great thing about this layout is that it looks great on mobile devices too. So that's kind of cool. The visual you use can be anything from a photograph to an illustration or video. It really depends on, again, it depends on the niche you're in. It depends on what the best practices are in your industry. Okay. Either way, it should be high quality and relevant to your service, product, or overall feel in order to take full advantage of this layout. So that's kind of cool. Next, you have the split screen layout. So if you're thinking about properly laying out your website, think about the split screen layout. So by vertically splitting the screen down the middle, a split screen layout creates actually a perfectly symmetrical balance and avoids actually the presence of negative space. So you do not want to have negative space. I mean, the whole thing is you want to make sure that you are really drawing the reader in, the visitor in. So you want to really avoid negative space as much as possible. And so the neat division that you have within the split screen layout, the neat division into two parts allows for each section to express an entirely different idea, or alternatively, to support one idea from two different angles. So if you're trying to convey something, you're trying to really maybe the concept is complex, or the process that you have is complex, right? The concept is not really I mean, you cannot articulate that through storytelling. Well, you use a visual. The website layout template, basically, that you choose will have to fit what your audience is expecting, right? And so what happens here is that a split screen layout is ideal for websites that offer two significantly different types of content, or websites that want to evenly combine written copy and imagery, online stores that segment users by age, gender, or behavior are actually a good fit for this layout. If you're thinking about properly laying out your website, I want you to really think about asymmetrical layout. So asymmetrical layout, that's similar to the split screen. This stylish website layout also divides up the website composition, but this time, the cool thing here is that everything is done in an asymmetrical manner. This time, the two parts are not equal in size and weight. This asymmetrical shift of balance from one side to the other creates like visual movement, visual agility, visual adaptation, making the entire design feel more dynamic. So if you want to have some kind of agility through your site, you want to go with this layout. So through a non-uniform distribution of scale, color, space, and width across the page, visitors' focus can be drawn to specific elements or over others. So to achieve this in your own website layout, you want to give certain elements more, let's say, more visual weight, okay? More agility, more content agility. You can make them bigger, bolder, or brighter. So they actually act as a focal point. So that's important. Next, you have the single column layout. So this is actually another website layout that you really want to use if you want to reach a certain audience in a specific manner. So this website layout includes all of its content in one vertical column. It's a very simple, straightforward design, and in fact, it's the one used on many pages across the web. So navigating a single column layout is easy, because what happens here is that you are making visitors' lives easier, right? Visitors immediately know to scroll down the page for more information. However, there is one important website navigation tip to keep in mind using this layout. You want to add a back to top button or a fixed menu to help users explore your site further. Otherwise, they'll just be going down, down, and down over and over and over, right? So when using the single column layout for text heavy sites, remember to break up the text every so often with imagery, line breaks, headers, or subheaders. This is a great layout idea for, let's say, long form content websites or a website that display content in chronological order, anything from blogs to social media feeds. If you're thinking about properly laying out your website this year, I want you to think about a box-based layout, okay? And so the box-based or grid-based website layout what you have here is you have a merger of multiple pieces of content into one geometric design. So that's kind of cool. The geometry here has to be respected. So with each bit of information neatly constrained into a box, what happens here is that the elements don't overshadow one another, right? So you create some kind of space, some kind of how do I call it? Some kind of adaptation. So each box leads to a different web page where users can learn more about the topic they are interested in most, okay? Now, a recommended practice is to actually add one large featured box to serve as your website's header and actually tie different boxes together below. So what happens here is that you're creating some kind of a continuity in your content. Okay, now the featured box can include the page's title and a brief explanation of its content, along with a menu for navigation. So that's kind of cool. Another tip is to actually curate the visuals in each of the boxes so that they work together very well. What you want to have here is you want to have let's say, brand cohesion, cohesiveness. You want to have content cohesiveness, right? And you want to also have a cohesive brand identity in the end. Next, you have cards layout. So much like the box-based layout, a card layout uses multiple boxes or other rectangular-esque containers to display diverse content. So if you have diverse content to display and you're trying to really make your users' lives easier, think about the box-based layout. This website layout is actually for the most part non-hierarchical, okay, meaning that no one term truly stands over the others, and all the info is treated equally. So if you are trying to have some kind of uniformity in your website design, think about the box-based layout. So with all cards carrying identical features in terms of, let's say, size, fonts, etc., it's really easy to import your content into each one, and this results in a modular design that's a good fit for all screen sizes and allows for intuitive and approachable browsing despite a large amount of info. And this actually improves the user experience over the long run. So this is kind of cool. And even better, a card's layout is a great idea for a content-rich website, especially perfect for a vlog or online store. If you're looking for, let's say, a proper website layout, think about magazine layout this year. A magazine layout is pretty good because this derives inspiration from printed newspapers. Okay, so you have a multi-column grid that it really is aimed at creating a complex visual hierarchy. So you want to have the complex visual hierarchy so that your visitors will tell what's important, what's prominent, and what's less prominent. So by implementing containers that can be modified individually, a magazine layout lets you, for instance, prioritize major headlines over smaller articles. So it's all about the content hierarchy you are trying to implement throughout your site. And so you can really play with the size of your elements. So larger images and headlines, for instance, are the very first to command your visitors' attention. You can think about the placement. So the article at the top of the page will usually be the first that your visitors will read, and with the amount of design detail provided. So an article with an added photo draws more focus than one with plain text. So this is something to think about. The magazine layout is a fantastic choice for content-heavy, sites such as news publications or blogs. So think about that. Finally, you have the horizontal strips layout. So this website layout breaks up the long scroll of the page into a full width strips. So with each strip functioning as a full screen fold or even close to full screen, the diversified composition builds user anticipation with a different surprise every time they scroll. So that's kind of cool if you are trying to really reach a specific demographic, okay? And so to make each strip different from the one before, try using a different shade from your website color scheme in each strip, or by including images on some strips and written copy on others. That way you can create the contrast, okay? And in addition, by incorporating effects like parallax scrolling on your strip, you'll be able to infuse this layout with a sense of motion and depth in the website background. That's what you want, okay? And this layout is particularly beneficial when it comes to one-page websites, especially with long scroll designs. So let me give you the extras here. I just shared with you the top 10 website layouts, that patterns that you want to really think about this year. The extras, it's just important to understand that a website layout typically comprises a header containing the logo and navigation menu. And you have a main content area presenting the core info or services, sidebars for additional content or navigation, a footer with supplementary links and copyright information. So, and this actually, it doesn't depend on the industry. This is standard, okay? So when planning your website layout, it's important to be actually to actually use consistent color, for instance, consistent typography, and also space. So that you because space is kind of cool for visual cohesion, because these elements collectively create an intuitive and engaging user experience. And you want to have a wonderful UX. You want to create a wonderful UX for your visitors. Now, a good website layout is one that it's actually easy to navigate and understand. It should be visually appealing and also engaging, while highlighting your most important content, right? It's not about just having your visitors come to your website and not really get something away, take something away. The takeaway has to be clear. Make sure to consider your target audience, the purpose of your website, the content, the navigation, also the design when you are planning your website layout, okay? And what I want to say before closing to this conversation is that you want to keep it simple. You want to use white space as much as possible. Use a consistent design throughout your website, right? Consistency is key. Basically, use high quality images and videos, and make sure your website is responsive. People using smartphones, using tablets, using phablets, using computers, using PCs, using using laptops. You want your site to always come excellent. Okay. In terms of examples of popular website layouts, you have single page scroll, grid layout. You have card design, minimalist design, split screen, full screen imagery. Okay. And just keep in mind that the four main parts of your website layout will always be the header, the content body, the sidebar, the footer. And so in terms of the website layout that's good for you, think about maybe one column, two column, grid layout, asymmetrical layout also, if you are trying to really get things done in a pretty adaptive way, okay? And this layout, these four layouts, one column, two column, grid, and asymmetrical, are popular due to their flexibility, ease of navigation, but also visual appeal. So, in closing chapter into this conversation, I spoke to you about how to properly lay out a website. I give you the beginning chapter and the top ideas. The top ideas really include Z pattern, F pattern, full screen image, split screen, asymmetrical, single column, box paste, cards, magazine, and horizontal strips. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.